G'day and welcome to Uneducated Entrepreneurs. I'm Pete.
I'm Dan. How we doing?
Yeah, it's all right. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, not too shabby, I suppose. Bit of a shaky start to the morning, but we got there. Apparently, I was heavy breathing whilst I was waiting for Pete to get on.
It was
but
hilarious.
That's okay.
I was creepily watching him because he was already on the recording. So it'll be an
Yeah,
interesting
pretty good.
time.
That's all
Dan's
right.
getting better at introducing himself finally.
Excuse me.
It's only
I
taken
was
him.
assuming that one person would introduce everyone, but I've obviously changed since then. So
People want to hear your
my
voice,
fault.
Dan. They like
Yeah,
hearing
I
your
suppose
voice.
that's fair. That is fair, I guess.
We're getting a bit
That's
more
all right.
organised, guys. We just spent a bit of time just talking about some plans. We've got a lot of plans for the future, a lot of business owners that we want to interview, a lot of ideas that we've got going, and how we sort of want to more structure these kind of podcasts. So it's an exciting time that we've got. We're a bit more, I guess, onto it than we have been in a long while.
Organised. It's not going to be like just fumbling around our words and me taking 3 hours to edit something that shouldn't take so long. Last week, for example, I think I edited out half of our recording, so yeah, that needs to change.
Good
So
times.
it should be
We
good.
got a bit more of a structure, guys. We might run you through the structure if we're going to do this, just so that you know what to expect every week. We're going to try and hit the same topics at the beginning of each podcast. So we're going to do our normal introduction, and then we're going to hit up what we talked about, what's happened within both of our businesses in the last week, and then we're going to talk about what we plan on having happen within the businesses in the next coming week. Sometimes that'll be longer than others, and sometimes that might be the full podcast because we might actually dive into some really interesting information and be able to just start talking about a couple of things. Then we're going to start talking about some interesting news that both Dan and myself have found within the world that may change the way you focus on business, may change directions, different things like that. And then we will do a food for thought, talk about what's on next week. And then we'll get into the topic for that day, if there is a topic for that day. We'll try and give you guys a bit of a rundown on what we're doing next week and things like that. But obviously things change, and we're just trying to give a bit more structure so that it's not as chaotic.
And I mean, if interesting news takes up the whole podcast, it's going to take up the whole podcast. So we'll have planned segments, but they're not set in stone. Let's just do a rough overview of what's going to happen. We'll also be saying make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification on the YouTube. On the YouTube, exactly like on the YouTube.
The YouTube.
Yeah. I was actually up till about 2 o'clock this morning, starting to re-edit some of the website, doing a bit more on that. So
nice, getting that all
that
up
should
to date.
be a little bit smoother. So you can go check that out. That'll have the audio recordings, the videos, and interesting things that we talk about. Probably all your resources and stuff, and then all our socials: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah,
all the fun stuff. Twitter.
So on a little bit of interesting news, someone just came to my house and dropped off some chickens. So we have a couple of baby chicks. Maybe I'll bring one. Do you want to bring a chick to me and I'll show it on the podcast?
So Pete's going to be very distracted for the rest of the
episode.
episode.
No, this episode just
Brace
the
yourself.
Little one, the black one. What? My wife's already named one of our chickens Satay. So it's a satay chicken.
I mean, is that because you're going to eat the chicken or... Nice.
So we haven't even finished building our chicken coop yet. Oh, this is my wife too, everyone. She's coming on next week.
This is Jess. Yeah. Yeah, she'll be organising, or not organising, she'll be talking about systems, because she does that, and I will probably learn a lot.
Yes, so she's brought our business from being a paper business to being an digital business, for lack of so everything digitalized. Whoa, my camera's gone really unfocused. So she does she does systems design and systems analyst. So so she has helped our company go from obviously everything being paper through to everything being digitalized. You can just do forms, different things like that. But she'll talk to us about the importance of that, as well as the importance of being a digital company in this day and age with everything that's happening. So, but we'll get back onto a topic, guys. So the first thing we were going to talk about.
What did you get up to this week?
What did I get up to this week? Are you still going to hang around, Jess?
Business.
My wife is very distracting when she stands in the same room because she criticizes me and she makes jokes about things that I say. You don't know stuff about that. Anyway, so it makes me very self-conscious when she's.
That's hilarious. It's going to make for an interesting podcast, that's for sure.
I don't know if yeah. All right. Anyway, what's happened in our business this week? So this last week, we actually, as an organisation, went to the Disability Expo. So we had an awesome stall at the Disability Expo. Actually, I should just bring it up. Hey,
Yeah, do it.
I should have brought this up first.
That's all right. We're getting more prepared, but still got some wrinkles to iron out.
Yes, we do. But it's an awesome advertising, and an awesome advertising tool. Let me share my screen for a second. Here we go. Share. So, can you? I'll wait for it to come up. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, that's that.
So here we are.
She's good.
This was us at the Disability Expo. It was an awesome opportunity for advertising, meeting with other people with disabilities, networking with other organisations. That was our little stand. Hey, look, it's me in all my glory. Anyway, but it was just an awesome setup, an awesome opportunity to talk with people, to network pretty much, and we've got several new participants from it already, which is awesome. New clients. But that was an awesome opportunity, and we have a heap of. Let me stop sharing. We got a heap of. We have a heap of like hats and different things like that left over still. So there's just a lot of stuff still around. But anyway, like merchandise, I should say. That's what it's called, merchandise.
Merchandise. That's okay.
But no, it was great. It was an awesome opportunity. It was one of the first ones we've done like that, an expo. We don't normally do expos. We're normally a very much a word of mouth organization, but we decided to try something new, and it was pretty effective. It was. You've got to be careful with this sort of stuff because it can be a really expensive exercise, and you've got to actually weigh up whether or not it's worth it, because you could put all this money into this advertising and get nothing from it. And if that happens, then there's no point in advertising at a place like that. This last week also...
You want to be effective in your marketing.
Exactly.
I was just saying you want to be effective in your marketing. It's a side of marketing, that's for sure.
It's the most important thing. You've got to be... I mean, you could market until the cows come home. I think you and I were talking about this. I don't know if it was in the podcast or if it was just in you and I having a chat, but we could market until the cows come home. But there's no point in chucking all this money into something if you're not sure it's actually going to take off or if it's going to be an effective opportunity, if it's going to be so it's been really interesting. But that was something that we were just trialing to see whether or not is this worth it, are we going to get revenue from it, are we going to grow, is this the best opportunity for us? Time will tell, to be honest, so you just have to wait until that time will let us know whether or not it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the hard thing for us is not finding participants or clients, it's finding workers. So if anyone wants a job, apply on avasupport.com or .com.au, because I learned something from Dan last week and found out that I actually don't have the... I looked up we now own the avasupport.com, which takes us to our website anyway, but we didn't own that at the time. So... Thanks for that, Dan. I appreciate it. So
that is fine.
So what's been happening this week in your business?
My business, not a great deal. I've gone and just been putting a bunch of content together, but then have been busy. I was a little bit sick during the start of the week, so that kind of knocked me for about 2 days. And then I was just putting content together, writing a couple of blogs, getting them started. And then, because I also do all the back end for Uneducated, I've been doing that as well. So, there's a new blog coming out, should be this week, and I'll be posting more regularly on all of the different socials for my personal business as well as Uneducated Entrepreneurs.
So it's given you kind of a kick up the bum to get things started a bit more.
Basically, yeah. No, I've just been busy, and then like Uber Eats has been dead, so that is less than ideal. So having to do more hours with that. to pay the
Ooh, that's not
bills.
good.
Less than ideal. Oh, but I also started launching some ads and a bit of split testing with that, getting some traction.
Nice.
Haven't got the sales yet, but we are getting the clicks, which is what we need to get the sales. So
Well, say
it's just a matter of time.
say you only get one. Like if you get 100 clicks and only one person buys, it's still one person
That's
buying.
like a 1%. So it's 1% conversion, but if you have a high ticket product, it can be worth
Yeah.
it. So yeah, closely watching that at the moment to see, I guess, as Pete was saying, whether it's worth the expense, because running Google ads can get expensive.
It'll be interesting to see the analytics of it and whether or not it is successful.
Yeah.
Because I think what's hard for us is it's hard to put a number down on the actual like how many participants or how many like new customers or clients will come through
Yeah.
from something like a disability expert in comparison to when you run Google ads. You can actually see the engagement. You can actually go, oh look, we had X amount of people engaged, and it's all digitalized and you can find it yourself. So that'll be really interesting to have a look at in a couple of weeks time, I reckon.
Yeah, so did you have that all set up so that you could essentially grab their emails / contact details?
Yeah, we've got a fair
with?
few. We've got a way of doing it. We actually did it very smartly. Actually, was my general manager's idea that if they gave us their details, like their name and their email address and things like that, for us to chase them up, is they would get put in the draw for to win a hamper.
Yeah, nice.
So there was a whole list of people, and they could win a hamper, which was awesome. So we've got that contact information, but how many of those actually eventuate? See, the hard thing is you can look at it in a small gain and go, look, we got this much contact information.
Yeah.
But if nobody comes from it, then it's sort of and people could be people come to the organization a year down the track and they go, hey, I saw you at the Disability Expo back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So, that's timeline.
Yes.
What's that timeline that you're looking at? Yeah.
Yeah.
It does make it difficult.
And so we have to work out what the timeline is and things like that, and how we equate whether or not it was a success or not yet. So it looked great. There was a lot of connections made, but whether or not that eventuates into new participants and new funding, we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Because it's probably a bit different with your business. Because I know if I collect emails or information, I can put them into a list and then retarget them later down. So have you looked into that, or is that an option for you to do?
It could be something for an option in the future. I mean,
I don't know how you'd work it.
This sort of industry is hard because you don't want to push too much because people don't want corporate. They don't want to get spam, or they don't want, you know what I mean? Like it's very easy for people now in their emails to go, oh, this is from a company that randomly got my information. Oh, I'm just going to unsubscribe, or I'm going to like get rid of. I don't want to be off their emailing list. Right. I mean, I do it all the time. Like, I'm unsubscribing all the time from these random emails that I've just chucked out my email to somebody. I'm like, nah, I don't want you to have my information. I don't want you to send me stuff anymore. And some of them are great. Like, some of them are companies that I still shop at. Like, but I just don't want the constant emails. So,
that's it. I mean, fortunately, not everyone's bred like you, mate. So they do keep their emails, which is good for us marketers because then we can retarget. But if you're one to just cull, that's fair enough. I completely understand. Let me just fix my... Oh, you can see me now? Just realized my light decided to rage quit. That's good. Oh, it's not good. That's all right.
I fixed it.
Right. So there might be some retargeting later on. Possibly, but, see how it goes. Because, it is definitely a different scene to... I guess affiliate marketing.
Yeah, well, yours is all digital based, so you have to have people. If you've got people, people's emails are gold to you guys. Yeah,
exactly.
If you can get a list of people's emails, even if you can send out 100,000 emails and you only get 10% of that, that's still 10,000.
Yeah,
I
was like,
wow, your math is terrible, Dan.
Oh, I had an early morning, okay. Late night, early morning. It's my brain's still clicking in.
You got any plans for your business this week, though, Dan?
I should be launching. Hopefully, be finishing up another piece of content for that, and I might look into doing a bit of filming for various workouts, possibly, to be posting as content for DPT solution, and then with Uneducated, because I do that as well. The website will be running smoothly. At the moment, we've only got the first episode on there, and all the buttons aren't working.
Wait, the website will be running smoothly.
It's very much an empty shell at the moment. If you have a look at it, it's gone and changed since you looked at it last.
Yeah,
it should have. But yes, I'll be just tweaking that a bit more. And then lots of work because May is disgusting.
Well,
I
we're
think
coming up.
we've got your son's birthday next week,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I've got about 7 other birthdays coming up in May.
Well, also,
So
May is the month before June, and June is tax time.
taxes, which we will be covering if we get to it this podcast. If not, it'll be next podcast.
It depends on.
But it should be this
Depends
podcast.
on what we're going to. I mean, that's something. So, actually, this week we've been as a couple, my wife and I, who own the business, we've just we're doing a bit of a business restructure, which is pretty cool. So we're actually going to be making my wife a director of the company, which will be pretty awesome, and
Fancy.
I will become CEO. So we've been chatting with a couple of different people. We've got a couple of different mentors that we talk to, and so that's sort of what we're implementing this week. So it'll be an interesting shift.
Yeah.
We've also been
That's
this
it.
week. Our plan is to we've been keep this a bit on the down low right now. Not that it's going too many places.
Oh, it's going on to YouTube
That's
where
fine.
everyone can see.
We're looking at potentially changing accountants, and this is something that I'm actually very passionate about. Is finding people that can help you. Like we were mentioning before the podcast started, how tax time and how you do all your taxes, and I just hand mine on to bookkeepers and accountants.
He's such a lucky man. My goodness.
I
wish I could do that.
didn't always do that. Well, actually, I kind of always did do that. But there's a reason they're the best
Yeah.
at what they do. There's a reason you need an accountant. And so we're looking at, because I mean, what's interesting is we're looking at potentially whether or not we want to shift accountants and change
Mhm.
rather than having like a small little local accountancy firm, which they deal with maybe properties or they deal with
Small portfolios.
small portfolios, personal taxes, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what I found after doing a bit of research ourselves for this week, we want to look at potentially finding somewhere that has a bit more, like they have a bit more everything. So they have like they can help you with business development. They can help you with not just doing your taxes, but helping you save on your taxes. Like, what's interesting is we've looked at a couple of accountants that are actually very, very expensive, right? And yes, cost is a factor, but you don't just want cost. Like, accountants usually charge, right? They charge based on usually an hourly fee or different things like that. But it's really, really important that because, like, when I started, we went with low cost business accountants, right? But the issue with low cost business accountants, they'll just lodge a tax return, right? So they're not actually going to like look for ways for you to save money or look for ways for us to be able to draw money out of the company. Like, there's a couple of ways for us to be able to draw money out of the company without paying taxes. Right.
Fancy.
But that's what you're paying for. Is you're paying for that expertise where they go, oh, actually, why don't we do this, and this? We'll structure it like this. And hey, how about we pay off your home loan? Hey, how about we get you another investment property? How about we go like that? So there's tax planning strategies, whereas a lot of the other companies that we've worked with in the past has been just sort of like, because we've got a bookkeeper that we use, and so it's just been the bookkeeper does all the work and then they just lodge the taxes. Right, and they charge us a fee for that, so a couple of grand. But like some of the accounts we've been looking at, they're actually upwards of $4 or $5 grand for the year to lodge all that stuff, because that includes your taxes. That's about $1,000 for tax planning, and then actually implementing all that sort of stuff is about $4,000. Right. Yep.
I'll cut that out.
Thanks.
The savings you'll be able to gain from that $4 grand is probably going to way outpay that $4 grand in itself. Plus, that's also a tax write-off.
And that's it. So it's a couple of the people we've met. They said if we don't make you more than we cost you, then we're not a good accountant. Right, and so
precisely.
A good accountant is also people you can bounce off ideas. Go, hey, do I want to buy a car or do I want to lease a car? Like for the company, because you've got to be FBT, you got to pay fringe benefit taxes, different things like that. Especially if you don't have a logbook, and you've just got to be really careful on it all. But a good accountant, if you have a relationship with your accountant, is It's a good account, and guys, it's taken us. This is part of what we're planning on doing over this next week, over this next couple of months. After tax time finishes, we're just starting to look now.
Yep.
But is finding a good accountant. We've gone through 1, 2, 3 accountants now, just because
Wow.
they haven't been up to standard, and we've been trying
Yeah.
to find someone that can help us grow and grow with us as an organization.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the sort of stuff that we're looking at doing over this next week.
Yeah. There you
Which is
go.
actually a lot, to be honest, because we're doing a business
I
restructure.
just yeah, it's a big step. That's a lot going on. That's not just a small week. That'll take a month or two to fully process and
Well, this is,
go through.
to be honest, this has actually all been happening in the past. I just haven't spoken about it yet. That's why I've been maybe a bit dazed sometimes. And well, actually, we had a
Yeah.
couple of meetings last week, so that's why I may look a bit disinterested. I apologize, guys. I also do have autism, so I have trouble sometimes when other things are going on to try and focus, and
Yeah.
I fiddle a lot. So you'll see me playing with pens, or I get distracted. I'm like, butterfly. There's a cat. I did it
Yeah.
before. There was a random cat outside my window, and I was like, cat.
That's hilarious. Maybe we should put a disclaimer at the start. That's going to be at the start of everything. Pete has autism. He may look disinterested and start clicking things.
But I'm not.
It was, but he's
Like,
fine.
I listened. Like, look, when we were talking about when Dan was talking last week, I ended up learning stuff, and we ended up making some steps in regards to. We actually own now not only the .com, but we own the .au. And everything is synced. So if someone now sends an email to my work email address, which is peter.bishop at avastsupport.com.au, if they do peter.bishop at avastsupport.com, now that gets forwarded to my emails too.
That is good.
So everything's just linked now.
Good.
So thank you, Dan.
Oh, look, you're welcome. I'm sure I learn a million things anytime we talk. So you just know I'm grateful all the time. So it's fine.
All right, interesting news, Dan.
I'm not going to do that. Interest rate hikes for housing.
Oh, it's the thing everyone's been talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of come out of the blue. Almost.
It actually went up more than everyone was expecting too.
Yeah, like it went up 25 basis points, so instead of it being 0.1%, it's now at 0.35%.
Yeah, they were thinking. I've read a lot of them were thinking it was going to go up by 0.15, and it went up 0.25, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a pretty hefty increase.
Yeah, and they're also even thinking about possibly there being further increases come June, just because generally when the RBA increases interest rates, for those that don't know, from my 10 minutes of research before the podcast, it's essentially they are looking out for, I guess, the general public, and they look at the inflation rates and the potential for wages increasing come June. Wait.
Well, they're trying to.
No.
Yeah, they're trying to. The issue is they're trying to curb, inflation. Because one of the main reasons we've got inflation right now is because not just with the war with Russia and Ukraine, but also you've got China that's in one of the harshest lockdowns because they're fixated on getting zero COVID cases, right? So that's just absolutely screwed up supply chains. So there's all these businesses that are relying on these things, and because you can't get the stock, it increases the price of the stock because more people want the stock, and things cost what people are willing to pay. And because people have been willing to pay more for certain things, it's just skyrocketed, and so that's why they're trying to do this.
Yeah, and on the whole China lockdown thing, I was watching something the other day, and it was somebody that just like randomly tracks like shipping routes, and they were saying that in the last week, I think only 2 ships have left China. I'm probably out on my numbers exactly, but essentially at the time when they were talking about it, there was only 2 ships being like leaving China, where there's normally upwards of almost 1,000. Or like 100 or 1,000 is one of the two. So basically, you've gone and reduced supply by about 98% for general public, which is then going to be pushing up those inflation rates because there's just nothing leaving China. So that means if nothing's leaving China, nothing can get into stores because everything is made in China.
It's such a scary thing because you start looking at it going, you start looking at it and going, wait a second. If we're this reliant upon China, should we not up our manufacturing? Because the issue has been is manufacturing so damn expensive in every other country apart from China. Like to
Yeah,
manufacture anything in Australia, you're paying a premium on the metals, you're paying premium on the staff wages, you're paying because
yeah,
Australia has a decent minimum wage. Like we haven't got a low minimum wage by any stretch at
yeah,
all. But um, you, because our minimum wage is so high, right? You're
mm,
paying for it, and so hopefully there's maybe some incentives or some stuff that can, because at the end of the day, to help fix an economy, you need businesses to do
yeah,
well. Like
yeah.
you can't have for
That's
small
it.
businesses to do well and medium sized and even large businesses for business in general to do well means that people have more there's more jobs available means there's more
Yeah,
money to pay into people and give higher staff wages and all of that sort of thing, which then can help
mm,
stabilize the economy itself. But
yeah,
building the infrastructure now, because we've relied so much on China in this past decade, building the infrastructure for
yeah.
manufacturing is going to be a very, very difficult time.
Because I think there was talks of with the election. Because for those that don't know, it is currently the 4th of May, and we have a federal election coming up in the next 2 weeks. We might talk a bit more about that next week, but I think there was talks of them trying to increase the amount of infrastructure to, somehow combat the issue with shipping routes and not getting enough stock. And so they're bringing more manufacturing back to Australia. I think they were putting some more monies towards that to build up the infrastructure so that more stuff can be provided in Australia, because we export a lot of